So let's get into our first amazing speaker who is here. Right, there he is. So we have Mr. Derek Abel from Your Story. He is a phenomenal videographer, but he does so much more than that. He's interviewed my parents. He's done a lot of different things for different brands, big and small, and from all different industries. So Derek is amazing because every brand, and I know this firsthand, every brand has a story, or every personal brand has a story that they need to tell. And it's not just about getting it out there. It's also about how you execute it. And that is what Derek does really well. Even if you're shy or thinking that people are going to make fun of you, Derek puts you at ease. He's absolutely fantastic at what he does. And it's really great to hear from him today because every business needs to be able to communicate correctly. And video is number one medium. So Derek, with that intro, I will hand it over to you, Sarah, if you want to make
Thank you, Chris. Can everyone hear me? Yes, thumbs up.
Okay.
Awesome. That was my presentation. That was Chris doing my prezzo. So
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
right.
wrap for me. Any questions? Jump to Q&A. Maybe I should tell you a little bit about me. So I actually run two businesses. Your Story, which focuses on family videos, recording all the highlights of your life, any messages you want to pass to your family, friends, anything you want to share. It's really about connecting family on a deeper level. And my other business is Abel Productions. It's more commercial, but again, it's about people. It's always about people with me. Founder stories, speaker reels, events where there's a lot of people, you get the energy in the room. With me, it's all about people, like I said. So how I got into filmmaking, I always told stories. I used to, when I was 10, I used to stop the class when I was in class. I remember it being, it was either maths or it was, we called it moral education. It was very Christian. I used to stop the class and be like, we're going to put on a play. And the teachers would be like, sorry, what are we doing? It worked. For some reason, people were like, yeah. And so I go like, I turn a joke, like the Englishman, a Portuguese, a French walk into a bar, that sort of thing. But I'd make it a play and get everyone involved. And so I was always telling stories. Everyone really enjoyed it. But I grew up in Portugal in the middle of the Atlantic, in the Azores Islands. And there weren't any film schools there. So for many years, I didn't know what I was going to do. And eventually, I was at a point in my life where I was like, I need to do something with my life. And I was like, I'm going to move to somewhere to study film. And I thought maybe New York. I was like, that's a bit too far. In Europe, you have access to more things. You can fly to other countries. It's more connected. I was like, I'm going to go to UK. So, of course, I moved to the UK to study film and became a waiter. But after a couple of years, I got some help from my sister. I ended up going into film school, which was awesome. Actually, funny story, when I first got to the UK, I think I had like $100 years ago. I think I had $100, which was the equivalent of like 50 pounds. And I had no place to stay, no connections, no money. And I saw a big sign saying, meet Quentin Tarantino. And I was like, what? Nah, where I grew up, it's like meet him, yeah, on TV. And so I rocked up at this place at the right time. And sure enough, there he is, Mr. Tarantino himself. And I had a little book full of ideas. And I was like, oh, let me rock up to him. And everyone had like posters to sign, all this stuff. And I only had a crappy little book, but I finally got up to the front of the line. I was like, oh, it's really nice to meet you. And it was like, can you sign my book? It's like, oh, I have one of those. So he signed it. It was like, make me proud. This was years ago. And I was like, oh, and as soon as I left that meeting him, I got a phone call saying, oh, I saw your ad, you wanted a room, you can stay with me. I was like, I have no money. He was like, that's fine. You can stay with us for a month, and when you get a job, you can pay me. And this guy, this Brazilian guy, knew me from nowhere. And then I got another phone call saying, you got a job at a hotel. You're going to be a concierge. So everything kind of, Tarantino luck rubbed off on me. So that's kind of how I started my journey in filmmaking, got into filmmaking school and started doing documentaries about people and the homelessness situation in the UK. And how I started Your Story was because my sister passed away a few years ago, and I had to go back to Portugal. And there were so many stories told about my sister and all the crazy adventures that she led. She was a bon vivant, the life of the party. And I didn't have a really good relationship with my parents. So when I reconnected with my mother, and she was telling me how when she grew up, she went through all these struggles. And she's part Native Canadian, so she looked Indian when she was growing up, and all the other parents would say, don't play with her, she's half-breed. And so she was very lonely as a child. But I didn't know that. And when I reconnected with her, she shared all these things with me, and I thought, we need to share these stories, these family stories. It'll help us empathize with one another, connect on a deeper level. And so I thought, I'm going to start your story. I'm going to start a business where we can actually film, record these awesome stories. So that's my founder story. And that's what you have to kind of do with the founder story. You have to try and find a thing that connects you with your audience, with your clients or your leads. You want to show them why you do the thing that you do. What's your passion? You know, everyone has a story. Let's say RSEC IT, right? I don't know RSEC IT. I don't know. They might be the most famous brand in the world. I have no idea who they are. I know Mark, though. Mark is an awesome dude. Mark has 2 daughters. He grew up in Pimble, actually. And the reason he got into this was because of his grandmother. Someone hacked into her super and stole $200,000 from her super. And Mark learned the systems. He learned how to track them down and found the hackers, and then managed to get all that money back. That's why he started RSEC IT, because he managed to get that. And that's why you should trust him, because he cares about family. He cares about getting that money back and protecting family. He's a family man. He did it because of his grandma. And the interesting thing about the story is it's total bullshit. That's not Mark's story. But you need a story like that to get the hook in. And I'm saying, tell your story. Don't make up a story, because that will hit you in the bum. You want to get a story that actually connects you to your brand, your why. And that's how we kind of start a founder story. We ask 3 questions. What was the catalyst that made you start your business? And your why. What reason are you doing this business? What's the reason? Why should I do business with you? That's kind of how we look at it to start with. We always ask these 3 questions. And question number 3, we want to know what the challenges are, because people want to challenge. For example, it doesn't have to be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. It can be something like, I was a single parent, or even I wasn't a single parent, but it was a struggle because I had a baby on the way, and I had all these struggles. I had to wake up really early, and no one knew my business was, and I had to drive 500 kilometers to get somewhere. It could be anything. It could be the most relatable thing. Just being a family, just being a dad or a mom, a parent, is something that people will connect with. They'll empathize with. I have a little video I wanted to show, if that's okay, if everyone's keen on watching so far. Everyone following so far? Everyone, any questions? Anything they want to ask me? No? I'll just play the video then. Let me see if I can do this and share my sound, of course. Here we go. I'll start with my gore story. This is an edited version. I'll just cut it down because I don't want to take too long. Let's see if I can do this. Can everyone see my screen? Yeah.
It just says you've started sharing, but there's nothing shared at the moment. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
From the streets of India to war zones, boardrooms, my story, well, it's been nothing short of bizarre, I don't know, unique. There's a word in there somewhere that describes, but I'll tell you what, it's been something. As far as the story goes, or as much as I know anyway, I was abandoned at birth in India and found by a passerby. They dropped me off in an orphanage. Within India, within the culture and the caste system there, they believe that whatever you've done in your previous life, well, it ultimately determines the circumstances amidst which you're born. And so for me to be abandoned at birth, to be placed in a field, to be found by a passerby, I mean, I must have done something heinous in my previous life. In many ways, the culture, it wrote my fate for me, declared an untouchable, unable to be adopted. And ultimately in that moment, in so many ways, my fate and my future were sealed. But through, I don't know, providence, through purpose, I'm not sure which one it is, but a lady who looked after me at the orphanage took a liking to me. And one night under the cover of darkness, She smuggled me across a state line. More than that, she went to some nuns and she bribed them with cash, I mean literal cash. And what was crazy was not only did they accept it, but they rewrote my birth certificate. They changed the details of my birth so that I could be adopted under that state's law. And so in many ways in that moment, my fate, well, it was rewritten. And I was adopted by a family here in Australia and got to grow up in one of the greatest countries on the planet. I started Charitable a couple of years ago, and as a startup, I mean, one of the questions we get asked most is this: what makes you unique? And I've got a fundamental problem with that question to startup people or founders, because I think it's actually not what makes you unique that matters. It's where you're going to place it. Every single person on the planet will one day either be a contributor towards generosity or a recipient of generosity. We built a secure, state-of-the-art platform that allows users to stay in touch with the charities they love and charities to stay in touch with the donors. Ultimately, it's built by users, for users, by fundraisers, for fundraisers. Honestly, I can't stress it enough. Download it today because we want you to become part of a community.
Anyway, so you get the gist. So he connected his story, his struggles with what he was doing at the moment with his new app. And that was his purpose. Someone gave to him, someone helped him out when he was a baby, so he wants to give back. That's Mike's story. But they don't all have to be incredible stories of being abandoned in the middle of a field. They can be fun-loving stories. And in fact, Chris Malati, our president and commander-in-chief, he wrote the script for the video that I'm about to show. That was for Scuttle, and that was Lisa and Tom's business, and they're all about family. And if you don't mind, I'll show you what we kind of wove together to show the fact that they are very much about family, and they're trying to give back, and they're trying to create a business where everyone in their business, all the employees have that. They can spend time with their families, and also it showcases what they do and how they do it. Give me one sec. Share. Here we go.
And then Sarah, if you want to prepare the next meeting rooms, just so that when this video finishes.
It's ready.
Today, we're talking to two very special people, Lisa and Tom, the founders of Scuttle.
They help Australian businesses grow by finding top tech people from the Philippines.
Can you tell us what Scuttle's all about?
Scuttle specialises in helping Australian businesses find the best tech talent in development and testing. We make sure every hire is a perfect fit for the company's culture and goals.
We combine Australian recruitment standards with incredible talent from the Philippines to create smart, sustainable solutions for businesses.
So how did Scuttle begin?
Scuttle came
So yeah, it can be anything as long as you find your why, then we're in business.
That was really fun. Thank you, Derek. Make sure you connect with Derek on LinkedIn.